So welcome everyone. We wanted to just give a brief overview of the program before our applications go out, just so that people know of and are aware of what it is that we do. Because we realize that even if some of you have gotten a consultation with us before, you may not know what sort of happens behind the curtains, behind the scenes. And so we just wanted to give an overview of our program. And one thing, I'm sorry. And so the TAC program really functions on two different levels. First level is the services that we give. What do we do in the program? And so one of the things that we aim to do is to foster teaching and educational excellence among TAs and AIs at UC Davis. AIs is associate instructors. And being able to really connect with the TAs, especially since a lot of departments and a lot of programs may not do things like orientations or sort of send their students off into the wild wonder of teaching. And then that's really all that they get. And so we really serve to be able to connect with those students so that we can really get into talking about their classes, how their classes are going. We also like to encourage innovation in pedagogy and teaching techniques. We encourage everyone who's part of the program to be risk takers. And so things that we like to talk about that come up in discussion, we say, go try this. See if this teaching technique works and come back talking about your experience. And then also enhance learning in undergraduate courses. So our aim is also to reach undergraduate students as well through our experiences with the TAs, so that undergraduates as well get as best an education as possible through the teaching and learning process. Within the program itself, what we like to do is promote team building, collaboration, and community across disciplines. So we are a cohort of about 10 people, and something that we really enforce is that we don't see ourselves as just a group of people who go off and consult with other TAs, but we really are a group of a community that works together. So we spend a lot of time, especially in the very beginning, doing team building activities, really getting to know one another, because we know that without that, we need to be able to collaborate with one another in order to function as a whole. We also want to strengthen skills in teaching, peer review, and communication. And so we'll get into a little bit later about some of the ways that we do that, but we do a lot of professional development activities in order to reach that goal. To develop leaders. So one thing that we want to enforce is that when you're in the program, we really try and enlist you into leadership roles. So it's not just you sitting there hearing someone who's so-called an expert talking about pedagogy, but really you taking that opportunity to develop leadership skills yourself, to sort of pursue some of the questions that you may have about teaching and learning and pedagogical questions. And then finally, to expand knowledge about teaching and learning. So not coming to the program with sort of preconceived assumptions, but being able to be open to the learning process about how teaching and learning happens. Being able to hear from your peers as well about their experiences, and sort of being open to new ideas, being open to that transformation process. So just to give a quick overview of just what steps happen in each month. In December, we open up our applications. I guess they're already open, so we're ahead of the game. In January, we read through all of the applications, and then we choose a certain number, and this really just depends on the number of factors, so we don't know how many people we're going to be able to choose to invite for interviews right now. But we choose to participate in a group interview. So you would be coming with about 4 or 5 other people possibly as a group for an interview together. And we do give you a chance to speak individually, but we also give you a chance to talk with those people in a group. The interviews happen in February, early March, and then we choose and notify the consultants soon after that. And then our schedule works a little bit oddly. We do spring quarter to winter quarter, and I'll explain why that happens in a little bit, but part of that is that we have to have you prepared in September to understand and know about the TA consultant process. And so it's a little bit staggered, the year that the TA program happens. So what happens in each quarter? The spring quarter, so in all of the quarters, We have weekly meetings. They're 2 hours a week, and that's a big time commitment, but that's really important for a lot of reasons, which includes the collaborative process. We do consultations with TAs, and we also work on professional development activities. So those are pursuing different areas in teaching and learning and the pedagogical process. The activities are led primarily by those who have a little bit more experience in the beginning, and then it's passed on later in the fall quarter for pursuing some of those professional development questions. So in the spring is really a training session. It's training and practice for doing consultation roles. We emphasize collaboration strongly in those areas, so we do a lot of team building and getting to know you in that quarter, as well as training for consultations, because we start right away doing consultations. And then we do preparation for TA orientation in September. And this is the reason why our year is staggered, why we do spring until winter quarter, because the TA consultants lead TA orientation for all new TAs in September before the quarter starts, and so we really have to have you all prepared for that. In the fall, we do professional development workshops, and so some of you may have seen the advertisements that came out about doing diversity statements, statements of teaching philosophy, and a teaching portfolio workshop. And so those are like really smaller workshops, but you're already well prepared because you already gave lots of workshops during TA orientation by that time. And then in the winter, we do what's called the Winter Workshop Series, which is a series of 6 workshops. It's a certificate giving series. It's a little bit more intense. And this is really where the collaboration comes in, because we talk as a group and a team about developing that workshop series together. Do you have anything to add to that, Kara? Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to back up a little bit and to show you what's happening in September. So in September, we have what's called boot camp, and that's the preparation for giving TA orientation. So boot camp is typically, it's 1 week long, but it typically happens 2 weeks before the quarter begins, and it's a time to prepare the workshops for TA orientation. And so the reason that we say this is that we really like for people really need to be available in that month of September, so that they can be able to attend the boot camp. And then after that is the TA orientation. So it's 2 days of workshops for all of the new TAs. And it's, I think, for me personally, it's the most intense part of being part of the TA consultation program, because you're giving workshops basically all day long. If you remember your own TA orientation process, you only had to be there for 3 hours, but we have to be there all day long giving the workshops. But it's a very rewarding time for us as well. And it's a really great way to connect with the new TAs on campus.
Yeah, so it's called boot camp, but it's really fun. I mean, this is where the TACs are really sort of reforming the connections they have with each other after being apart all summer.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of fun activities during that week. It's not just lesson planning for workshops. There is a lot of preparation for that, but there's also a lot of the other things that we do in the program, like learn about teaching and learning and talk about it and talk about what's working well for us and applying effective teaching practices to the way that we're designing the TA orientation workshops. And the TA orientation is also, you have a huge impact on undergraduate education on campus, because you're seeing about 600 TAs over those 2 days. And so it's a really powerful and important service opportunity to connect beyond just your own network within your department on campus.
Yeah, and I would also say too, it's your first experience really giving a workshop, and it's also co-leading a workshop with someone else. And so that experience too is very unique and very new, because it's sort of, you start learning how to be a co-leader of something, and you're not just, for example, in a class you might be leading it by yourself. So that was a new, refreshing but also difficult experience for me during that process. So I just want to also go on to talk about some of what you can do longer in the program beyond your first year. So those who have been in the TAC program for a year have a chance to go on to become what's called a TA Consultant Coordinator. And so while the TAC program is a fellowship program, the TACC, the coordinator portion, is actually a GSR position. It's 25% position that is co-led, so we usually choose 2 people, or 2 people apply for that who have been in the TAC program for a year. And we just want to mention that too, just because that can be an opportunity for ways to continue throughout the program, throughout the years. We absolutely invite people who have been in the program for a year to come back a second year, and you don't necessarily have to do this, but if that's something that you're interested in, it does take on more of a little bit of a leadership role, because you're now planning the meetings, you're scheduling the consultations, so whenever we get the requests, you're the one to schedule it for the rest of the TACs. And then you also support and guide the TA consultants, especially those who are new to the program. You're checking in with them a little bit more often. And then you're possibly engaging in research, so that's something that I did, and attending conferences. And so I just attended a conference last week in Dallas called the POD conference, and I won't tell POD because it doesn't make any sense, but basically it's a pedagogical conference where I got to talk a little bit about our program. And that was a great experience because I actually found out in talking to other universities that the way that we do our program here at UC Davis is not the way that other schools, other universities do their TA consultant programs. A lot of them don't even have TA consultant programs, and a lot of the ones that do don't really enforce leadership kind of the way that we do. So what we really like to do in our meetings is just invite open discussion, say, you know, we've done it this way in the past, but what do you think about that? Does that work for you? What would you like to do differently? Whereas some of these programs are kind of more like certificate giving programs, so they don't really give the opportunity for leadership skills as much. Another opportunity that you can have if you're in the TAC program, is what's called the Associate Instructor Teaching Consultant Summer Program. So you have a chance in the summer as well to do what we do year-round. And that's pretty intense. It's a 50% associate instructor position, and it's only open if you have experience in the TA consultation program. And you're basically leading 2 6-session workshops throughout the entire summer, summer session 1 and summer session 2, and then you're also giving consultations over the summer. So these are some of the opportunities that you can have just by being in the program for a year. So part of the research that I did was I asked people where they were. Where are TA consultants in the world after this program? Most of them stay in academia. Most of them go on to become professors. And this is all across the board, very scattered. They have been professors in Research 1 universities like Davis. They've been professors at liberal arts colleges, at community colleges. So all different kinds of institutions. Some are faculty chairs. Some go on to become directors of the teaching center, like the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. Some go on to not do so much research, but do what's called faculty development, which is basically a consultation program for faculty, where you're helping faculty think about teaching and learning. Some are researchers. Some abandon academia altogether and become directors for nonprofits, or we had one person say they were a business analyst. So it's really unlimited to what you can do, but what I really want to emphasize is that the TAC program gives you transferable skills. So especially in terms of leadership, working with groups, working as a team, all of these things are really highly enforced in the TA program, and they look very good on resumes or CVs once you get out into the scary world of the job market. So I think that that's all that I have for now. Oh, that's right. So one of the things that we wanted to do, that I did in my research project, was just ask what TA consultants got out of the program that they still reflect on. So the first quote is from someone who is in the humanities, and this person said, "I remember that for my first job as a lecturer, I had to do a teaching presentation as well as demonstrate how I use technology in the classroom. I gathered some of my TAC friends to come and watch and critique my presentation beforehand, which was invaluable. Also, I talked quite a bit about my job as a TAC when interviewing for my first job as an assistant professor. Because of my TAC experience, it was obvious to my interviewers that I had thought a lot about teaching." And then someone who was in the science, technology, engineering, and math, there we go, I was going to say medical, math program said, the question was, you know, did the TAC program help you while you were on the job market? And so this person said, yes, in fact, I know it helped me. Years after I was hired, the individual who chaired the search told me that it was my experience teaching, organizing, and running workshops that gave me an edge over the other candidates. And then just two more. Some of the professional development during the program gave me a better understanding of how to put together my application, pack it, and market myself with a portfolio. After becoming hired, they told me they really value the strong teaching and consultation background I had experienced. And so something that quote particularly made me reflect on is that we don't expect you to come to the TAC program knowing how to do all of this already. We really guide you through the process. And so, you know, part of what we do is when it's time for giving workshops, we say, well, do a workshop that on a subject that you have always been interested about. And that way you get to research, you get to learn about what it is. Teaching statements, for example, I had no idea about teaching statements until I became a part of the TAC program. And then I was able to pursue that and then give a workshop on it. So we really emphasize people who are willing to learn and willing to research on these things, but we don't expect you to be experts on it before you come into the program. And then the last one for the social science, I just got tenure at a liberal arts college. The TAC experience showed me that I was serious about teaching when I went on the job market. So just a couple of words of those who had been in the program. And this person was all the way from 2005 and had remembered their experience. So Kara has a couple of words to say about the program. No?
You hit on everything.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Then I guess what I want to do is turn it over to those who are currently in the TAC program, who could maybe just give a few words about their experiences so far.